There's a lot of us in this room that started this battle around 5 years ago to get treatment here in the Eastern Panhandle. And at the time, we thought that this was going to be an impossible task. But as we are Berkeley Countyans, we were very, very fortunate to have some great leaders here in the county that put their head on the block, the county commissioners, for pushing a lot of things through that a lot of people weren't happy about. And this is one of the end results of that. And I can't give the county council, Doug Copenhaver especially, more appreciation for everything. I can tell you that for myself, it's been a long road. I was telling someone today I have a lot of black and blue marks from a lot of people coming at me, and that's okay. Because the main goal for everybody that's, I would hope, in this room, definitely that are working here at Mountaineer Recovery Center, is we want hope to become reality. And I always say hope stands for hearing other people's experiences. And our experiences that we've had, and some people in this room, are going to be able to carry people on to a much better life. So at this point, I'd like to call up here Pastor George, not this guy, Michael. It's the other George Michael.
Thank you, Kevin. It's an honor and privilege to be here together today with all of you to celebrate the opening of the Mountaineer Recovery Center. Let's give thanks to the Lord. Heavenly Father, we rejoice as we're here together, this beautiful facility. Together today, we bow before you and acknowledge your sovereignty over our lives. You are the one is the gift, giver, and sustainer of our lives. We thank you for that. Lord, I thank you today for Dr. Hartens and his wife Helen, the vision you gave them to plan ahead and think about what could happen here at a facility like this. We thank you for all those who have helped in the process, from the public officials who have supported this, the process of the funding, the contractors, builders, the people that put this together. Thank you for the staff you've brought together to work here. It is just a great acknowledgement how you have worked in many people's lives so that we can be here today and see what will happen at the Mountaineer Recovery Center. We even think next week, as clients start to come through these doors, that they will find this, I pray, a place of great hope, a great place of healing, of recovery, having their needs met, being helped along the path, their spiritual refreshment, their spiritual needs, along with the resources they will need to begin again. And truly this will be a time for hope, that many lives will be impacted, and many people will have a new beginning because of the work of all of those that have helped to put this center together. Just thank you for the opportunity for us all to be here and to celebrate. We look forward to what will happen in the days ahead, how you want each of us to be supportive of this ministry, this facility, what role you want each of us to play. But we thank you and rejoice that we can be together today. For it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the next gentleman, someone that I had met 15 years ago. And I met him through the recovery process. At the time, he was working at the VA, running the Cat 5 program. And I myself, within the recovery community, were working with individuals in and out of that program. Got to know this individual very well. And when it came time for this Ryan Brown grant to come, there was really, we didn't have a grant writer at the time. And I ran into another guy that I know for a long time. And I want to acknowledge him. He does, I'd say he'd stand up, but he's standing in the back. Could you raise your hand, Jonathan? Jonathan Bonwell wrote the grant for the award for the $3 million. So there's no coincidence that you're bringing two Jonathans together. And when I put Jonathan Hardens and Jonathan Bodwell together, between the two of them, they came up with this wonderful grant that we were able to be graciously received. And it's my pleasure to introduce the CEO of the Mountaineer Recovery Center for the first time, Dr. Jonathan Hartman.
Well, as Kevin already said, wow. What a great turnout to see so many of you here. And it speaks to the community role that is so necessary in the healing journey from the disease of addiction. And I just want to tell you how meaningful it is to all of our staff and to all the people that will eventually be coming here to know that they have all of you in support of this healing process. So thank you very much for coming today in support of this. I do want to say just real briefly, I know so many of you are standing, we'll keep our words brief, that today is quite an emotional day, and an emotional day for so many reasons. And one reason is because it has been a long journey to get to this point today. And whether it was through the work of the construction, meeting with our architect and design team, and I just want to point out George Harn and his architect team. George, if you can raise your hand to the Ellen. And, Craig Collis and McGinney Contractors. Where is you, Craig? Are you there? They are way in the back. Yeah. We've had a great team, and they were very so patient and tolerant with all the changes I would make, or decisions that I would say one day, and then the next day I forgot the decision I made and give them a different decision. And it was just so gracious through that process. So it was quite a delight to work with them. So I know we're all emotional just to say it's finally finished and the doors can be open. It's also a very emotional emotional today because of all the hope that's going to be generated. Monday we open for business, and what I'm very excited about is the reality that with the absence of this place being the culmination of so many efforts, people would have died from the disease of addiction that now will not. Yeah. And so I'm very thankful for that emotional reality. And so it's also an emotional day because many of you have been working so hard, so long, because loved ones did not get a chance. And for that reason, we just want to say a thank you to all of you who have poured so much of your hearts and efforts, motivated by the pain and suffering that you've gone through. And I want you to all know people like Copenhagen, his wife Jackie, and the Browns, who I've been introduced in just a minute. Many of you have had families the work that you've been doing. I do want to introduce the family that's been the driving force in what became the Ryan Brown Grant Fund. A few years ago, Bobby and C.C. Brown's son was lost to the disease of addiction. And their pain motivated a lot of work and a lot of efforts to make sure he did not die in vain. And so today, Kevin, if you can come up and help me pull off the picture. And we are dedicating this great room in honor of Ryan Brown as the Ryan Brown Great Room. And I'd like to ask Bobby and C.C. Brown to come on up, and would you please give them a round of applause.
Grateful to be here today. And you can tell it's an emotional moment for me too. It's been over 5 years. And what propelled us here is that when the detectives, I see 2 policemen are back there, and I'm thankful to see law enforcement here too, came to tell us that our son had died from a heroin overdose at the town center mall in Macy's bathroom. And one of the first things I said is that I don't want anyone else to die. I don't want anyone else to die, and they don't have to. And someone used the word, I call it the P word, the dirty word. It's preventable. Someone finally told me it was preventable. He was on a wait list for 2 programs when he died. And got a Medicaid card through the Affordable Care Act 3 days before. And because of that, we wanted to make sure that that didn't happen to anyone else. And so that's when we went to the legislature 2 years in a row to try to get the fund. And it's amazing, this beautiful place that you all have created. And many people are going to be walking through that door. And they won't have to wait. They won't have to drive across the state to get help. I've been waiting on this to happen. I keep calling people, when is this place opening up? Because I was really excited because I knew that you need resources here desperately. And so I'm really excited that today it's opening, and next week you're going to have people walking through the doors, and you're going to see that people do recover, and communities do change, and families do heal. And I've been amazed at the community support. I've not seen that anywhere else. I said, you know, I'm not supposed to have favorites, but I do. With a smile. I do. There's something here, and it's not other places. It's the atmosphere when you walk in. And you know, many times when you're going for treatment, people are going, they come through the door, and it's a dark, dingy place. And people need to know that they're cared about, that they're important, and that they're valued. And when I walked through that door, I had tears in my eyes, and I thought, wow, this is a beautiful place. And I think that you're going to see great things happening. I know that this is the dream of many people here, and I'm so happy to be here, a part of that with you today, and I'm very grateful to be here and be a part of it. Thank you.
He showed me the picture, the cover-up picture last night. They still got to me over there this morning. I think just we had already been on the Capitol steps last year. It was called Hope Year. Well, you got hope right here. Been in here, it's right here in this building. And these people need recovery. They need help, and we need more of these buildings. We need more of this.
Yes.
This is just a little hit in the bucket. We need a 55-gallon drum. And thank y'all for having us. And thank y'all for pitching Ryan in the facility on the wall back here, says Ryan Brown, says, thank you.
Wow. Wow. I have to say that there's a lot of people in this room here, and we had some issues in the legislature to try to get this bill passed and to have this happen. I didn't ask him to come up and speak, but I'm asking Senator Trump if he could speak on behalf of the state legislature. We would appreciate a few words from him.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll be just very quick. On behalf of all my colleagues in the legislature, I will say that citizens should know the legislature recognizes the breadth and depth of this problem. And there is strong consensus. It's bipartisan. This transcends any partisan politics of Republicans or Democrats. Families that are affected by this are all over the state, in every corner of the state. And we believe that there are no throwaway people. We're happy that this is true.
Now, we heard from the state side of things. The next gentleman I'd like to have come up and speak has been a very, very close friend of mine. He has been in the fight from the get-go. He knows the hurt and pain of losing a family member. And all along has been a total support of everything we've been doing. It's my honor and pleasure to ask County Council President Doug Copeland to come up and say a few words.
If you knew me 8 years ago, you'd probably never see me shed a tear. But today, and many days in my life since that 8 years ago, I cry for each and every one of the people that want to use this facility. I cry for the ones that didn't have the chance to have a facility like this. One day actually it was about 8 years ago, we started Dr. Pat and I, and we started some recovery things going, and we had a fundraiser to start kicking the things off, and that night we raised over $25,000. I needed a great speaker that night, and I went to Mr. Knowles and asked Kevin, Kevin, I've heard you speak before. Would you please speak on my behalf? He said, oh, Doug, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not ready. Well, he decided to help a friend, and he came up forward and spoke very well. And that was an opening day. You know, it opened up everybody's eyes to say, it doesn't matter who you are. You know. We can find help. And for the ones that don't know Kevin and Dr. Hardens, my wife and I did lose our son. And he was 22 years old. Because he didn't have a set of doors like this, he ended up in trouble with alcohol. He went to jail, and the problem about jail was all he got there was further educated in the wrong direction. And the last time it was my job to take him to jail, regional jail, and he had 30 days, and he would tell me, I said, son, you got to turn yourself around, or it's going to be really bad. You're going to go for a long time. And he said, I do have another choice. No, you don't. You got to get clean. You got to get help. And don't come back to jail. He said, Dad, I'm telling you right now, I have another choice. I thought I knew what he was talking about, but I never took him serious. So the pain that he was dealing with was so bad that his only way out was to take his life. He didn't take his lifetime overdose. He got pulled over by an awfully nice young deputy. The deputy said, he's such a nice young man, he was very polite. He asked to roll up his windows because it was going to rain. The deputy gave him the chance, and he took off his game and hit the next pole at least 100 miles an hour. So he didn't have no other way out. So Dr. Hardin, Kevin, and the complete staff, Senator Trump, thank you for what you're doing today. thank you for not having an individual have to go through the pain and suffering that Douglas did and the families. God bless each and every one of you. God bless Berkeley County because it's a wonderful place to live. And may not one more person die from drugs. Thank you.
Wow. Now this Ryan Brown fund, although it came through the legislation, it was money that was lost against some of the drug companies. And if it wasn't for our Attorney General, Patrick Morrissey, for winning that lawsuit and then turning that money over to the legislation, we wouldn't be sitting here today. So it's my pleasure, my honor to introduce you, West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrissey.
It's really hard to follow Doug. I know we know what you suffered through. And I can tell you, being here today, I know to all of us it's very personal. And I just left the meeting. I spent all day yesterday on the opioid issues, trying to negotiate with my 50 colleagues across the country. And I've made very impassioned pleas to them. Because I know that as we continue to litigate and settle these cases, what matters most of all is getting people better in the head and the heart. And that's why we're all here today. We're here because everyone knows someone that's been impacted and touched. And when you read about it in the newspaper, it doesn't give justice to what's going on in everyone's life. I'm really grateful to be here today, and it's nice that sometimes some of the good work in your office, you get to see it firsthand. And we were pleased to work with the legislature because we know the best way to spend any of these precious dollars is on treatment. And as all of us look at this terrible opioid epidemic, I think we have to know there's a long road ahead, but there are some bright spots in the future. Today is a bright spot here in Berkeley County. I wanted to come here today after we had meetings on the opioid epidemic. I was in Washington, D.C., because we do have a lot of work. We're trying to hold people accountable who did wrong in this crisis. We're trying to go after the root causes of this epidemic, because we have to make sure that the deaths that we all know about, that they don't get repeated. And that's what we're trying to do in the AG's office through all of our work. But we have to keep our eye on the prize, which is this affects real people, and we have to be holistic in our approach. Education, treatment in a wide variety of ways, and enforcement. So I come here today to say thank you for coming, and I know everyone in my office will keep doing everything imaginable to make sure that we don't have a repeat of some of the reasons why we are here today. Thank you very much.
I'd like to come up and say a few words. He's been in it from the get-go, and a good friend of mine. I don't see it. No, maybe did he leave? Is Bill Powell here?
I'm here.
Bill, can you come on up? U.S. Attorney Bill Powell.
Wow. Thank you, Kevin. I'm the first U.S. Attorney from the Eastern Panhandle. And it was difficult for people to get used to across the 32 counties that I travel through on a regular basis. What's even more difficult for them to get used to is usually I start a conversation off, let me tell you how we're doing it in the Eastern Panhandle. And this is just one more area that we're going to speak a lot about. This is fantastic. When, in today's climate, when you have government, business, community members, all identifying a problem working together, and then solving the problem. I mean, you can't get better than that. And you've made me feel, certainly, I've looked around this place and just in awe, and I'm leaving this place so optimistic. We have incredible programs here in the Eastern Panhandle. Not only this facility, Chief Richards is here. He's doing so much on the prevention side with his Martinsburg initiative that's nationally recognized. We obviously have incredible enforcement efforts, and we have treatment efforts like this and the work that Kevin and all his folks have done. I couldn't be prouder right now to be from this area. It's a privilege and an honor to be here today. Thank you very much.
About opening events like this and ribbon cuttings, you got to get everybody in to speak. So everybody's going to get their opportunity. Not everybody, unfortunately. We have some of our federal representatives who could not make it. Senator Manchin sent Keith McIntosh to come and read a letter, something from the senator. Is that correct? Would you like to come up and read that?
Good afternoon. It is, wow. Absolutely. It is an honor and it's a privilege to be here today with everybody and to see what we can all do by working together. Senator regrets that he could not be with us today, but asked for me to bring greetings on his behalf. Greetings from Joe Manchin, United States Senator, Mountaineer Recovery Center, grand opening. On behalf of the citizens of the Mountain State, and as your United States Senator, it is my distinct privilege to welcome those attending the ribbon cutting for the Mountaineer Recovery Center. As we know, the drug abuse epidemic has ravaged this entire nation, including our home state, and many families are in desperate need of hope and encouragement. I sincerely thank the members of this service for providing hope to those in recovery. Addiction is a complex issue, and while I am dedicated to working with others to find preventative methods, it is also important to provide aid to those in recovery. That is why that is where each of you come in. I'm proud to congratulate any individuals here today who have taken back control of their lives, and I thank the people who have helped them along the way. I've heard so many stories from individuals and families affected by substance abuse. These stories and the real people behind them are what drive me forward in the United States Senate as we strive to find solutions to the tragic issues that plague our state and entire nation. Please know that your voices are heard and that they affect every decision I make in regard to fighting the substance abuse epidemic. Raising awareness of this issue is vitally important in the process of ending it for good. And by continuing to work together, we will be able to help more individuals find treatment for their addiction and also to improve the prevention of abuse in our future generations. As a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, I fight every day to make sure West Virginia receives the funding we need in every spending bill. Most recently, the Senate passed my spending package that includes more than $600 million to fight the opioid epidemic, with an additional $80 million to provide resources to homeless children and youth impacted by substance abuse. My biggest priority is ensuring that West Virginia wins, and I will do everything I can to make sure this funding is in the final spending package. Working together, we can continue to make a difference and better the lives of countless families. Thank you for all you do. Warmest regards, Joe Manchin III, United States Senator.
This time I'd like to invite up a good friend of mine, Chris Strovo, who presents Senator Beck. You and I are Kevin and I have known each other for a long time, and I would give you this. This isn't the end of any journey, it's just the beginning. Congratulations. I do bring you greetings on behalf of Senator Capito. When I have her for events here in the Eastern Panhandle, invariably, the best part of it is traveling between stops in a day. And the conversation always turns to kids. I have 4 and 3 grandchildren. She has 3 children, and I think it's 4 grandkids, maybe 5. But that's what it always comes back to, and that's what it's about. And Brown family, I would say, on behalf of Senator Capito, God for you, that you have taken
no parent ever wants to think about, and you've turned it into something that will save lives and preserve other parents from having to undergo that. So thank God for you. I would also say that many of you were probably in the room shortly after the senator took office in 2015. She convened the summit, gave some memorable remarks. Commissioner Copenhaver gave incredibly moving remarks there. Y'all remember that because it touched us, and as you touched us today. So the opiate problem is a priority for her. She showed that by having the first major event of her Senate tenure as an event here that drew 150 folks in the battle. So it's intensely personal for her. And you will always have an ally on Capitol Hill when it comes to legislation or grant funding. You know how to get in touch with us. The last thing I'll say is we here in the Eastern Panhandle, we are very fond of saying that we are closer to 5 other state capitals than we are to our own. We'll never have to say that about a 48-bed treatment center again, because we haven't. Thank you.
Next, I have Congressman Mooney's Representative Reiner Schisler to bring some remarks from the Congressman.
This has indeed been a bipartisan effort. The entire congressional delegation of West Virginia has been in support of this. And it is my privilege to represent Congressman Mooney, who represents you guys in the House of Representatives. And he sends the following greetings. Dear friends, thank you for the invitation to be part of today's ceremony recognizing the opening of the Mountaineer Recovery Center. It is an honor to serve as your representative in the U.S. House of Representatives, and I regret that I cannot be here today since the House is in session. I do, however, want to offer my congratulations to all involved in getting this important institution off the ground and running. As these doors open, it is with much hope and optimism that I look at the treatment opportunities available to your patients as they battle dependency and addiction. I am encouraged that your patients can be healed and can return to an active, meaningful life. Not only they, but also their families and all of society will benefit. Our state's motto is "Mountaineers are always free," with the most current treatment practices being provided by